My sister chopped off my 9-year-old daughter's hair while she cried and begged her to stop. My parents sided with my sister. Then my 82-year-old grandma arrived and said, "Call the police." My sister cut my 9-year-old daughter's hair off, not a trim. She took kitchen scissors and cut it to her chin while my daughter screamed and begged her to stop. My daughter had been growing that hair for 5 years. When my parents sided with my sister, my wife's response left my sister sobbing. Then my 82-year-old grandmother showed up and said 3 words that made my parents panic. "Call the police." My daughter's name is Ivy. She's 9. She had long brown hair that went past her waist. She was proud of it. She brushed it every morning. She let her mom braid it for school. She'd been growing it since she was 4, and she talked about it like it was part of who she was. My sister's name is Gwen. She's 31. She has 2 daughters, ages 7 and 5. Gwen has always been jealous of things she can't control. When I got married, she complained about the venue. When Ivy was born, she said we gave her too much attention. When Ivy's hair got long enough to notice, Gwen started making comments. "That's too much hair for a little girl. She looks like she's trying to be Rapunzel. My girls keep theirs short and they're fine." I ignored it. My wife ignored it. We thought it was just Gwen being Gwen. Last month, my parents watched Ivy for the afternoon while my wife and I went to an appointment. When we dropped Ivy off, her hair was in 2 braids down her back. When we picked her up 3 hours later, it was gone. Cut to her chin. Uneven. Choppy. Like someone had hacked at it in a hurry. Ivy was sitting on the couch with red eyes and dried tears on her face. She looked at us and said, "Aunt Gwen cut my hair and I told her to stop and she didn't stop." My wife's face went white. I turned to my mom. "What happened?" Mom looked uncomfortable. "Gwen thought it needed a trim." "A trim? It's gone. She cut off 2 feet of hair. It was getting unmanageable." "It wasn't your decision. Or Gwen's. Where is she?" Gwen walked in from the kitchen like nothing had happened. "Before you start, it's just hair. It'll grow back." My wife stepped forward. She was shaking. "You held scissors to my daughter's head while she cried and begged you to stop?" She was being dramatic. "It needed to be cut. You are never touching my child again. You are never being alone with her again. If you come near her with anything sharp, I will file a restraining order, and I will not hesitate." Gwen's face crumbled. She hadn't expected that. She looked at Mom for backup. Mom said, "Honey, she's overreacting. It's just hair." My wife turned to my mom. "Your daughter assaulted my child with scissors. Ivy has a scratch on her neck from where Gwen nicked her because Ivy was trying to pull away. That's not a trim. That's not overreacting. Your daughter physically hurt my 9-year-old while she screamed for her to stop." Dad said, "Let's all calm down." "I'm completely calm. I'm telling you what's going to happen. Gwen is never alone with Ivy again, and if either of you think this is acceptable, you won't be either." Gwen started crying. "I was trying to help. Her hair was too long. 5 years of growth. She chose to grow it. You chose to cut it without asking her parents." While she cried, my wife took Ivy to the car. I stayed for 1 more minute. I looked at my parents. "You watched this happen?" Mom said, "We were in the other room. We didn't know until it was done." "You heard nothing? A 9-year-old screaming while someone cut her hair and you heard nothing?" Dad said, "Gwen said Ivy agreed to it. Ivy is sitting in my car with a scratch on her neck and 2 feet of hair missing. Does she look like she agreed?" Then my grandmother arrived. She was dropping off a casserole dish she'd borrowed. She walked in, saw the hair on the kitchen floor, saw Gwen crying, saw my parents looking guilty. She picked up a handful of Ivy's hair from the tile. She held it and stared at it. Then she looked at Gwen. "Did you cut that child's hair?" Gwen nodded. Grandma looked at my parents. "And you let her?" "We didn't know. There's hair all over your kitchen floor." "You knew." She set the hair down on the counter and looked at me. "Call the police." Mom panicked. "Mom, that's not necessary. Your daughter took scissors to a 9-year-old who was crying and screaming no. Where I come from, that's assault. Call the police or I will." Dad tried to step in. "Let's not make this bigger than it is." Grandma turned to him. "A child said stop and an adult didn't. That's as big as it gets." I didn't call the police that night, but I documented everything. Photos of Ivy's hair, a scratch on her neck, the hair on the floor. I wrote down what Ivy told us, word for word. My wife took Ivy to a real salon the next day. The stylist did the best she could. Ivy looked in the mirror and started crying again. She said, "It took me 5 years." The stylist held her hand and said, "It'll come back, and this time, nobody touches it but you." Gwen hasn't apologized. She posted on social media about how people overreact about children's appearances. Mom called once to say we were being too hard on Gwen. I said, "Your granddaughter has a scratch on her neck from scissors, and you're defending the person who put it there." She didn't call again. Grandma calls every Sunday and asks about Ivy's hair. Last week, Ivy told her it's past her ears. Grandma said, "Good, keep growing it, and if anyone comes near you with scissors, you call me first." Ivy laughed. Grandma wasn't joking.